Reef DVM's coming at you today with a good use for cherry tomatoes. Ever thought about making canned cherry tomato pasta sauce? Well, we do. We like it. It's pretty easy to do, and it's a good use for all those cherry tomatoes. Take about a tablespoon here of salt. I like sea salt. Get yourself some either Italian mix or some oregano seasoning. I like a good tablespoon of it. You can use a little more or a little less depending upon how much you like. Trying to get this all kind of prepared out so you can see everything here. I've got numerous pounds of cherry tomatoes, and I guess it's just kind of a visual thing, but I like probably somewhere around 8 to 10 quarts of cherry tomatoes. I'm putting in this bowl here a little bit of garlic powder. Get a good teaspoon in. I'm also going to put a teaspoon of basil in here. This recipe I like to use uses some eggplant, uses some peppers, some onions. Good 8 to 10 quarts worth of cherry tomatoes works for me. I like to take the eggplant, as you can see here, and just peel them up. Japanese eggplant, doesn't really matter which ones. Just get some nice dark purple ones. Take the ends off, take all the skins off so you're left with just the eggplant. This actually adds a little bit of substance to the canned cherry tomato pasta, and I really like it. This pasta, once we're done canning, it'll last us probably a year to 2 years in the cans, and that's really nice. It works really good. Now, if you don't add the eggplant to this, you're technically adding mostly acidic foods, and you can do the actual canning with just a regular canner. Because I'm adding the eggplant and it's not an acidic food, I'll probably pressure cook this just to make sure it stays really fresh in the jars and doesn't spoil on us over the storage period. So again, just chop up the eggplant like I did here. Works really good. Doesn't really have to be anything scientific to this because we're just going to blend it all together anyways. I like to take a whole onion. Some people like bedalias. I don't really care. For me, just a white onion works. You can add more onion if you want more onion flavor, but one whole onion seems to work really good for me. So I'm just going to chop this up. Once I get done chopping this up, I'll have pretty much everything ready. I'll probably chop these peppers up too as long as I'm here. We'll kind of keep this going in fast motion here so that you're not bored by us just chopping things up. So at this point I've got about probably 8 quarts of cherry tomatoes, mostly red. Some aren't quite there, but make it work. It won't really make a difference. I've got 3 larger eggplant all chopped up. I've got, again, the tablespoon of salt, a good tablespoon of either Italian seasoning or oregano, whatever you like, and then about a teaspoon of basil in there. Again, it's kind of preference on that. And then a teaspoon of garlic powder. You can add some other spices if you'd like, but this is the recipe that I like to make. So I've got all the onions done here. We're going to take some green bell peppers. Now, if you want this hotter, certainly feel free to bring in the pepper types, jalapenos, and so forth. And, the peppers really can add the zip to your canned pasta. I personally don't really care for a ton of zip in the pasta because I like to use it for everything from my eggplant parmesans to my spaghetti. So I'm just going to kind of make this just a standard flavor type technique, nothing real hot, something the kids and everybody can enjoy throughout the season, especially in the cold winter months up here in Minnesota. It's nice to be able to go down in the cellar and grab a fresh jar of pasta sauce. And again, with these cherry tomatoes, it's really easy to make it. I know a lot of people make most of their pasta out of the big tomatoes, but around here we get just a ton of these cherry tomatoes and don't know what to do with them anyways, so this makes good use out of them. So once you get everything chopped up to the sizes that you'd like, we'll move over to the grinding process and get this all kind of put together here. I can tell you that probably this whole process probably takes at least a couple hours for us to do, but considering that you can get anywhere between 8 and 16 jars of pasta sauce out of this, I think it's pretty well worth it. So for us, a batch like this can literally probably save us, $50 to $100 in pasta sauce, depending upon what type of pasta sauces you buy. So we'll clean this all up, and we'll get over and get this processed. So this is just a standard food processor. I'm going to dump the eggplant in. Don't need to add any water or anything, just grind it up. There's actually quite a bit of water in eggplant. it'll just become mush. And again, this is just going to be like a base. It really doesn't have a lot of flavor, just adds nutrition and kind of a thicker substance to the pasta sauce. Helps defeat the wateriness of the tomatoes. Again, I'm just going to chuck this thing plumb full of eggplant and just grind it up. I've just got the blade on the bottom of it. There's multiple different blades that we can use to grind with. I personally just like the fast spinning sharp one at the bottom. Seems to work just fine. Once we get this all ground up, we're going to put it in this pot. And we're really not caring about order. So again, first we got the eggplant done. Next I'm just going to do the tomatoes. Put it all together because when we cook it, it's all going to mix up anyways. So just take your thing like this, scrape it out with, a little spatula, and then right onto the tomatoes we go. I'm certainly not going to bore you by grinding up 8 quarts of cherry tomatoes here, but I'll at least show you how the process starts, and then we'll just kind of skip to the end so you're not sitting here watching this the whole time. Understandably, the stems have been taken off the tomatoes, and if you've bought store tomatoes, you probably should have them washed up really good. These tomatoes were pretty clean, so we just picked the stems, rinsed them quick in some nice cold water, and then off to the food processor. Here we go. Most of these are red. Some of them are green, just to make enough to get the batch here I wanted. It won't make a difference. It all grinds up and cooks up beautifully. There's plenty of red color. It's going to look great when we get done at the end. As you can see here, we're almost done with the cherry tomatoes, the process of grinding them all up. A food processor works great. Certainly you can cut them up by hand and cook them down by hand. Just not really worth it to me. One thing a lot of people do with tomatoes is they take all the skins off. You don't have to, guys. Just grind them up in the food processor. The cherry tomatoes are so fine, it works great. Once you get it all done, take your pot over to the stove. Basically fold in your onions, get them cooking. That way they start to nice flavor and aroma get into the tomato and eggplant mix. This is the peppers. We're just going to fold that in next. Again, just fold everything in, take your time, get it folded in so it's nice, smooth, and even. I keep this on about medium heat. We don't want to get a rolling boil going so that we cause the tomatoes to get even juicier and liquefy. We want to just keep it on a nice medium heat, get it nice and hot. These are all the spices going in. It's the basil, the oregano, the garlic powder, the sea salt. I just want to mix this all in, and then I'm just going to cook it on a nice slow heat for about an hour. Get that flavor and aroma to that pasta sauce to come out. The whole room here smells like pasta sauce. I wish you could smell this as I go through this. Again, I've got this kind of on a fast motion so you don't have to be waiting for me to go through this. This is time-lapsed here. We're about an hour into it. You can see the nice, rich, thick color that comes out of it. It's got a good flavor right now. You can taste it. We're pretty much ready to go to the canning process. I like to put it in pints. Some people like to put it in the great big quarts. I guess that's just preference. I'm going to leave about a ½ inch of head space, and I'm going to fill these pint jars. My wife here will help me out, and we'll put washed ball lids and rings on it that we've washed under warm water to get them ready for the pressure cooker. Again, if you don't put eggplant in this recipe, you could use just a regular canner for this. But if you use the eggplant, you probably should do pressure cooking with this. So again, we're going to just fill these jars. As you can see, one batch makes quite a few jars of pasta sauce. This is just fantastic. This will last us at least through the winter, and probably then some, which is great. Before I process, I add just a little bit more salt. I do this as a preservative. Could have done it at the very beginning, but I didn't want to because I wanted to just be able to taste that flavor all the way through. So I'm going to add a ½ teaspoon of salt to each pint jar as a preservative. It'll mix in the process now of the actual cooking when we put it into the canning processor here, the pressure cooker. As you can see here, my wife is just going to tighten down the lids, and then over to the pressure cooker we go. Our particular pressure cooker we use is twice as tall as some, so we can actually do 2 layers. So we're going to put a whole set of pints on the bottom, and then we're going to put a individual spacer in the middle and put a whole nother rack of pints in there. think the interesting thing with pressure cooking is people think you got to have a lot of water. You really don't. I've got about 2 quarts of water in here, and when I bring it up to 10 psi, and I process this, for probably a good hour. Shucks, that does it all. I mean, you don't really need to over pressure cook things with a ton of water. Matter of fact, if you add a lot of water to this, it'll just take you longer to get it to the point that it's up to 10 psi and it's venting and rocking on that little weight on the top. So I'd highly recommend not putting too much water in. Anyways, process them for about an hour. There's different recipes on processing. For me, that works about the best. And then you take them out. They're very, very hot when you take them out. Make sure you've let the pressure out of your pressure cooker before you vent it and open it. And then I basically set them on hot pads here to cool. Within a little bit, those jars are going to seal down tight. This will last us, again, 12 to 18 months. It's a wonderful use of cherry tomatoes. It's easy to do. Again, you don't have to peel the skins and do all that, tomato work. Just basically pull the little green tops off, wash them up, grind them up, put the recipe together, and go away to canning. And again, you don't have to use a pressure cooker. You can use a regular canner if you don't add the eggplant. But if you add the eggplant, it gets real nice and thick, just like it shows you here. This is wonderful, folks. I highly recommend it. I hope you enjoyed the recipe. Thank you for watching, and please like to our channel, and we'll continue to put out more reef DVM videos, both in the aquarium field, the tractor field, and these wonderful farm recipes that we have. Thank you, folks.